Welcome to Kenyon College Television News for the week of February 12, 1990. Kenyon College Television News is a weekly program highlighting Kenyon news and events. I'm Brennan Keefe.
And I'm Ed Curtis. KCTV has learned that the sociology department is requesting to add a new member to its staff next year. I filed this report earlier. The Anthropology Sociology Department, established relatively recently in the college's history, considers issues ranging from the development of civilization to its modern social structures. AnthSoc, as the department is known on campus, gives students the opportunity to major in both disciplines or focus on either one. Including introductory and advanced levels, the combined department offers over 40 different courses. But with just 3 full-time professors serving sociology majors, the department feels it cannot presently meet all of its students' needs. Professor Kipp, what is the need in the sociology department for a new professor?
The need is primarily curricular. It's very difficult to offer a major with only 3 persons, which is what we have now. And what is the heart of any sociology program is usually a methods course. And we teach methods here. But it's best done by somebody who regards that as his or her first love and really makes it the center of their teaching. So we're looking for someone, we would like to have someone who could teach a methods course that would be a year-long methods sequence, introducing students to quantitative skills that sociologists use, survey techniques and statistical analyses, and then another semester of what's called qualitative research, how to do interviews, how to do participant observation, historical research, that kind of thing.
How does the Anthropology Sociology Department measure up to others in the college as far as student enrollment?
The Anthropology Sociology Department as a whole had the 4th largest enrollments in the college, and we certainly don't have the 4th largest faculty. So, although we're not really making the case on enrollments, I think that you could argue it that way. We've tried to make the case on the curricular issues, and I think that's the important thing, to do justice to our majors and really to the college, because sociology plays an important part in the social sciences division. It's typically in sociology where those quantitative methods are taught, and they're actually very important to people who might, say, be going on to graduate school in political science or econ or a number of other social sciences, history even.
At the end of every academic year, each of the college's departments must submit an annual report to the president and provost, in which they can request new faculty members. The request usually comes in the form of one of 2 arguments: that the department has either curricular needs or is over-enrolled.
We think that the sociology department has made a good claim for a new position in the department, and it will be considered with claims which come forward from other departments at the end of the academic year.
Is that decision made from a financial standpoint or from a merely academic standpoint, i.e. that the need exists for a new professor in X department?
It's a combination. Any new position imposes new costs, and those costs must be fed through in the form of tuition. And so we must try to determine which curricular needs are so important that they merit inclusion in the budget, and hence the addition of costs that goes along with inclusion in the budget.
Though students will not know if AnthSoc will hire a new professor until next fall, the department's request is off to a sound and early start. Outside of AnthSoc, with a KCTV exclusive, I'm Ed Curtis.
Party Time Video, your new release connection on Coshocton Road in Mount Vernon. Party Time Video has all the new releases like Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade and Turner and Cooch. They also feature multiple copies of all the new release videos. Coming in this month at Party Time Video, Lethal Weapon 2, Parenthood, Relentless, Wired, and The Package. And remember, Party Time has over 3,000 other videos and Nintendo games. That's Party Time Video, your new release connection next to Big Bear in Mount Vernon. The Kenyon community is organized so as to provide an intimate atmosphere for the development of faculty-student relationships outside the classroom. We may see the faculty books published in the bookstore or attend their lectures during Common Hour, but how much do we really know about their prior accomplishments before they even came to Kenyon? Karen Devine takes a look at a member of the college faculty who has a truly unique success story.
Have you ever heard about the Kenyon professor that invented the McDonald's milkshake? It's definitely an intriguing rumor. Too bad it's not exactly true. The object of this tall tale, chemistry professor Owen York, has been here at Kenyon since 1961. I spoke with him about how a man with such an inventive past ended up teaching here in Gambier.
Well, it's a combination of things, really. I had something of another career before I came here, and I went out of graduate school. I worked in industry for a number of years in large research institutions, and enjoyed that very much. That was a wonderful experience. But I'd always wanted to teach or consider it, and I took what was essentially a sabbatical from a research job. They let me take a few years off and went to teach and went back then, but decided I really liked to teach, and so I came to Kenyon. And I have found it a wonderful institution. My children have grown up here. It's a wonderful community to raise a family. But it's really been challenging. The quality of the student body is outstanding. Science has grown here tremendously since the time I've been here. This building we're sitting in right now was the foundation was in when I arrived on campus. It was the same year that the Chalmers was built. And since that time, since that beginning of this new increase in science, we've grown very rapidly. And we have truly outstanding science students at the college, and so that keeps me here.
What changes have you seen Kenyon go through, the college as a whole and within the science department?
The college itself obviously has changed from an all-male institution to our coeducational institution now. That was clearly an important transition time. But in spite of all that, Kenyon has this wonderful quality of constantly seeming to be in turmoil or in change, and yet it stays the same. You know, it is, and I don't mean tradition in the sort of the usual meaning of tradition, but there is something that's constant about it. Whether it's the physical place, I don't think it's just that, but the attitudes that people have about their lives and the educational enterprise, I think is essentially unchanged since the time I came. Most people view what they do here and why they're here for about the same reasons.
One of Kenyon's favorite rumors is that you invented the McDonald's milkshake. Could you tell us a little about that?
Well, this is another classic example. I did not invent the milkshake from McDonald's, okay? So we'll start there. This is an example, I think, of the way science often progresses. We were interested, the group that I was responsible for, were interested in looking at the properties of large derivatives of cellulose, a big natural polymer. And one of the interesting properties that we were looking at was the fact that some of these compounds had the property of being somewhat water-soluble, whereas cellulose is not ordinarily. And it became apparent that these compounds can be very effective emulsifying agents. And so we pursued that, and I have a couple of patents on that. But our interest was really, interestingly enough, in an application in the oil industry. Because you need to be able to, if you drill an oil well, you need to be able to take the rock out of the bottom of the hole that you've drilled, and it may be 2 miles deep and only 10 inches in diameter. And the way to do that is to pump some fluid down the well to bring the rock out. but the rock's heavy, so it doesn't want to float, and so you put an emulsifier in. It turns out these things are wonderful for that job, okay? But it turns out also that they're wonderful for doing emulsification of all sorts of other things, including food, you know, instant pudding type things, and milkshakes. Milkshakes were not in our mind at all when we did that work. It's a good, wonderful example of, you know, unexpected directions that some work that you might have done might take. Serendipity, if you will, in science. You don't set out to invent something. What you do in science is you investigate. Okay? So you discover things occasionally. Turns out that sometimes those discoveries lead to some other applications of those things.
Could you tell us about your involvement with the Advanced Placement Program?
As you probably know, the Advanced Placement Program started at Kenyon. And shortly after I came here, I got involved in that program. By that time, it had become part of the college board programs. And over the years, a lot of faculty from the college have been involved in that program. And I think, in fact, it's really an important and significant contribution to secondary education in our country. It had a major effect on raising the quality of that education. For a number of years, I was what we call in the program the chief reader for chemistry, and what that means is that I was responsible for grading all those chemistry exams from across the country, and organized a team of graders that were college, university, and high school teachers, and we met in Princeton every summer and did this. And then until just a few years ago, I was the associate director of reading for that whole program for the country, all subjects.
As you can see, Owen York has made his mark on the world of science. Nonetheless, his main goal continues to be to share his knowledge and love of chemistry with Kenyon students. For KCTV News, I'm Karen Devine.
In observance of Black History Month, Sharon Minor King will present a lecture entitled An Analysis of Ascetic Apartheid Within American Educational Segments. Minor King, who will speak in Bolton Theater tomorrow, February 15th at 7:30 p.m., is visiting instructor of anthropology.
Automatic teller machine installed last semester in a vacant window of the Kenyon College bookstore has been the target of criticism from the student body. Many students who want to use their Cirrus or Plus system cards issued by banks at home are questioning the college's choice of which bank to operate the automatic teller machine. According to a high-ranking college official, the First Knox National Bank first approached the college about the prospect of installing an ATM on campus. The college, in the interest of fair business practices, asked area banks such as Bank Ohio and the People's Bank of Gambier to submit bids for the college ATM. The People's Bank indicated that they did not have the computer resources to operate an ATM here at Kenyon. Bank Ohio, a member of the Plus and Anytime Bank systems, declined when asked to submit a bid, saying that the capital investment to install the ATM would outweigh any profits they can gain from the installation. First Knox's bid was chosen, and the Mount Vernon Bank was awarded a 5-year contract and lease. The First Knox Bank may, in the future, subscribe to a national ATM service, but until then, students will have to choose between the college ATM and the People's Bank. Ed?
It is thought by many that the college needs a student facility, a center to serve the needs of the campus as a whole in the way of leisure and social events. The Commission on Student Life brought about the first official acknowledgement of the lack of free space on campus for student recreation. Currently, there are no plans to construct such a facility, but it is definitely a topic of interest with the student body. KCTV reporter Carla Bernberg checked into student opinions on the subject.
Do you think Kenyon should build itself a student union?
Absolutely. Ever since I was a freshman, Gunn doesn't serve the needs of the students down on that end. Freshmen are more interested in these kind of things than upperclassmen usually, but still, Gunn is completely a lackluster building.
Well, it's hard to say. I think that a student union would be good. It would offer other opportunities, but I'm really not sure where they could fit it in.
Maybe behind those buildings over there, you might want to point the camera over there and take a look. Behind the flagpole, like on the other side, near the football field down there somewhere.
What's in student unions? I don't even know.
I think a lot of it depends on what happens to fraternities after the Student Commission report. I think if fraternities have a reduced role at Kenyon, then perhaps the student union might not be such a bad idea to hold parties and so on. And I have no idea where I'd put the building if they did build one, so
If they were to build a student union, I think they could put it down by the football field.
Do you think Kenyon should build a student union, and where should we put it?
Don't we already have one? Isn't the Gun Commons Lounge supposed to be the student union?
Yes, they should. I think there's room for it. They need to add more things to school life.
Well, I think we do, because right now the administration has way too much power, and there's not enough of a voice coming from the student body.
Do you think Kenyon needs a student union or student center kind of building?
I'm not really sure this morning. It's a tough day. I like to go to Common Grounds a lot, but it's not that big. And a place that would be open all the time where you can study as well as hang out and eat and stuff like that.
It might help, but Gun Commons is kind of already that as it is, so I don't know if it really matters that much.
And now we present another edition of On the Hill, this week switching to national issues, where John Grant and Bill O'Hearn are going to talk about President Bush's China policy.
Thank you, Brendan and Ed. Welcome to this week's edition of On the Hill. Today, John and I are going to be discussing George Bush's China policy.
I'm John Grant.
And I'm Bill O'Hearn.
Welcome to this edition of On the Hill. Bill, I'd like to just start by saying that, let's get the facts out. 40,000 Chinese students are here in the United States. We saw what happened in China. We saw the bloody massacre in Tiananmen Square. And basically, I would say that we can't trust our president, because what did he do? He said there will be no high-level contacts with the Chinese government, and then he sent National Security Advisor Scowcroft to China 2 times, once during the summer and once in the fall, to talk to the leaders in Beijing. How can we say that the Chinese students in this country are safe in the United States with a president like that who goes against his word and changes his mind? He could send them back at any moment to face death in China.
This isn't the issue, John. The issue is executive power and privilege. George Bush did not want the Congress to pass the legislation that would enable the Chinese students to stay in this country indefinitely, because there is already a system in this country for people of political ideology who are in this country, foreigners who fear going back to their own country.
And I would say to you, the Congress passed what it passed because of precisely what I said, that they were afraid the president could at any time send these people back. He can't be trusted. Look what he did with the Scowcroft.
Why does the Congress have to pass preemptive legislation? The Congress has the right, through regular legislation, to review all cases, okay? And that's just the way it is. The Congress used to have a legislative veto, in fact, that was overthrown by Chadha. Clearly, the laws of this land give executive power to the president. And in these cases, it is handled through the Attorney General's office to stay in this country.
I'm not arguing executive power here, Bill. What I'm saying is basically this is an issue of rights. And what you're trying to say is we can trust George Bush to protect those students. And I'm saying we can't trust George Bush. And the Congress needed to do what it did, and it needed to try to override the president's veto. And I'd like to just bring up another issue.
So you're saying that the policy of this land should be to have absolutely no contacts with China?
No, not saying that at all. I'm just saying that basically how can we have a president who kowtows to leaders in Beijing when in fact he was ambassador there and they're all his friends. After they kill all of these people, he basically supported what they did. And what do you say about Pol Pot in Cambodia? Why are we supporting one of their regional thugs?
Do you really think that George Bush is kowtowing to the Chinese leaders?
I definitely think he is.
Or is it the Democrats who are trying to take this political issue? Or is he trying to take this or the Democrats trying to take this political issue when they know George Bush is handling it the way any other president would? The National Security Advisor is a person who, by being a high-level person, can go to China. Because it's a delicate issue, of course. He knew that the Democrats were going to try and do this. Now, George Bush does not have to reveal all of his cards in high-level talks with other countries.
But specifically, James Baker went on TV, the Secretary of State, and said, this did not happen, and it did happen. Scowcroft did go to China, and they're making no regrets for what happened. I mean, all I can think of is...
Kissinger lied.
So our governmental officials should lie, Bill. That's what you're saying.
Sometimes they do have to lie in delicate negotiations, or there will be no peace, or there will be no progress.
We can see where you're coming from, and let me just say that if you worked in the Bush administration, I can see why the House and the Senate passed the bill and why they voted to override the president's veto.
They did not override the president's veto.
By 4 votes, the Senate failed to override the veto after the
Well,
president called in a lot of his favors.
Get your facts
He called
straight,
a lot
John.
of his favors.
Get your facts straight. They didn't override the veto. George Bush won on this, and it was a good thing to win because the policy of this country is
It was a
correct,
shallow
and we have
victory.
a process.
The House voted 390 to 25 to override the veto.
It was a victory nonetheless.
The Senate voted 62
It's a
to
victory-
37
it's
to
a
override the
victory-
veto.
victory
4
nonetheless.
votes, Bill.
Victory,
4 votes.
victory nonetheless for the right policy, John. Well, that's all for this week on the Hill. I'm Bill O'Hearn.
And I'm John Grant. Next week, we'll be discussing the abortion issue.
Party Time Video, your new release connection on Coshocton Road in Mount Vernon. Party Time Video has all the new releases like Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade and Turner and Cooch. They also feature multiple copies of all the new release videos. Coming in this month at Party Time Video, Lethal Weapon 2, Parenthood, Relentless, Wired, and The Package. And remember, Party Time has over 3,000 other videos and Nintendo games. That's Party Time Video, your new release connection next to Big Bear in Mount Vernon.
Why was Monday, February 12th a significant date? Most of you probably think that it was Abraham Lincoln's birthday, in which case you're right. But February 12th was also important for another reason. It was the kickoff of the observance of National Condom Week. Our own Colin Parker has the story of how Kenyon has chosen to participate in this national-wide observance.
Earlier, I had a chance to speak with Dr. Clark Carney, who's chairman of the AIDS Committee here on campus, about Kenyon's involvement in National Condom Week.
We're going to do sort of a simple approach this year. What we'll do in the Health and Counseling Center is we have a VCR TV downstairs, and we're getting some movies from several different places. We'll be showing those throughout the week, along with displays of information about condoms. And then in Pierce Hall, we'll have a table during the lunch hour that'll be staffed by students, and it'll display a variety of different types of condoms, have some posters and other forms of literature about the use of condoms and safer sex.
Who is responsible for putting this whole program together and getting it on the road, I guess?
It occurred in two ways. Andrew Forster apparently knows a student whose relative is involved in National Condom Week, so that's the first time we'd heard of it. Then Joe Sowash, who's a community member here in Gambier, is very much involved in AIDS education prevention. I think it was in Richland County or Ashland County. And she's made contact with the Ohio Department of Health, who in turn has given us now 1,000 condoms and a variety of things to use during National Condom Week. The college has also purchased another, I think it's another 1,000 condoms for distribution.
I also had a chance to speak with Dave Wenz, a senior here at Kenyon, about what the students' activities will include. How do you think students will react to Kenyon's participation in National Condom Week?
I don't know. I mean, it's for their benefit. I mean, it's hard to say. I think, I mean, like some of the posters are pretty funny, but I don't know. I think it's really for the benefit of the students. I mean, we're here to just basically prevent AIDS from spreading and educating the campus.
So, be on the lookout for condoms, pins, and posters in both dining halls this week as part of Kenyon's continuing awareness of AIDS. This is Colin Parker for KCTV News in the Gun Game Room.
Kenyon currently requires students to choose a major course of study, but fails to offer students the opportunity of selecting a minor. KCTV has learned of a proposal which would allow students to minor in another subject of interest. KCTV correspondent Sam Sandberg has the story.
Last May, a faculty retreat was held where the quality of education at Kenyon was reviewed. At this time, it was suggested that minors would be one way to enhance Kenyon's academic curriculum. The Academic Policy Committee agreed and is currently soliciting departments to see if they would be willing to offer academic minors. I spoke to Ann Ponders, the academic dean, to see how she saw minors as a positive addition to Kenyon's system.
Well, the Academic Policy Committee has asked departments to look at minors as a way to deepen and diversify electives. At the moment, many Kenyon students take courses outside their major area, but minors would give an opportunity to deepen and sequence those in a way that would cluster them coherently.
At present, no type of comprehensive examination is planned for minors. One difference between them and the currently existing concentration will be seen on our transcripts and diplomas where the minor will be noticed. This type of academic recognition will be very handy for students who wish to study one thing here at Kenyon and then switch and study another in grad school. But how will this affect the choices made by Kenyon students while they're here?
Though there hasn't been any discussion about changing double majors or synoptic majors, I suspect that when we have minors, fewer students will choose to double major or use synoptic majors. At the moment, a student who is interested in more than one area only has the option of double majoring to do that, to find that on their transcript in some countable way.
This plan will probably not go into effect for the next academic year, but feedback from the departments has been very positive. This, plus the approval of the Academic Policy Committee, will probably mean that we'll be seeing minors in our system in the very near future. This is Sam Sandberg at Hornhouse reporting for KCTV News.
Well, that's all the news we have for you this week. Next week, we'll have a special presentation of KCTV's best news stories and columns. KCTV News will be back with a brand new show the following week. You can catch this special presentation of KCTV News next Wednesday in the shops all through lunch, in Pierce Lounge at 5:15 and at 6 p.m., and at 7 and 7:30 p.m. in the Olin Auditorium. Also, this special presentation of KCTV News will be shown on Thursday at the Gun Snack Shop for faculty and staff. Also, this edition of KCTV News will be on reserve in the Olin AV Viewing and Listening Room in the Olin Library.
KCTV is a service made for you. If you would like your event covered by KCTV or have story ideas, you can reach the station at PBX 5837 or through computer mail on the Academic Vax Network. You can also write to KCTV at P.O. Box 1638, Gambier, Ohio 43022.
Well, that's all the news we have for you this week. Have a good week.
Well, we're doing well. We're doing well. We are. That's all we're fast.